Christmas, Christ, Mas, M-A-S, Spanish, Mas, more Christ, if you want to say it that way, but that's how it should look. Christmas, more Christ, right? But most of us, if we were honest, we celebrate not Christmas, more Christ. We celebrate and have Christ less. In December, it's less about Christ and more about Satan. I mean Santa. So we are all in the Santa business. I almost said Satan again, but it is a trick of the devil. Because we're not celebrating this. This is maybe one nation under God, but we don't celebrate. It's one nation under that dollar that God's name is on. But that's another conversation. Hey believers, we had an amazing time of impartation last week. Started a short series. Today we may be done, maybe one more. We'll let the Lord lead us. Here we started, the series is titled The Reason for the Season. And the backdrop is, of course, the fact that this is the season that we celebrate or recognize the birth of Christ. And we started this through the backdrop of Matthew chapter 2, verse 11. And the thought is, don't you think it's time for you to put God first? The first thing we had to establish that you need to make a decision before this year is out, before this year is over. Decide in your core, Jesus comes first. You know, you are a Christian, a follower, an adherent, a believer. Put God first. Now, deciding to do this is important, especially in December. My God, the time it's supposed to be about, pretty much the easiest time to make God first, is the time that the enemy obviously causes distraction and confusion and just switches it up to the point that so many people are going to focus on everything but Jesus. Can you imagine if it was your birthday and everyone came all around and nobody paid you any mind and you just was sitting there? They were kind enough. They say, Merry Christmas. I mean, happy birthday, and you're like, and then they just keep going and they like, happy birthday. You're like, hey, you want to talk? I can't talk right now. I got these friends. I got these issues. We do this to Christ. So as a result of our priorities being mixed up, or at least in the wrong place, as a result of the wrong expectations or understanding about recognizing how to put God first, we literally build our lives where Jesus is part of a sandwich. And he's sandwiched between our bread, the bread of life for many of us. He's sandwiched between the bread slices of what's convenient and what I feel like. He's sandwiched between, what I want to do and do I feel like doing it when it comes to the things of God. And he's not even the meat, because our lives is the meat of that sandwich. We got the bread of, do I feel like doing it? Is it convenient? But then the meat of our life is our issues. And, I got to work. I got 3 jobs. I got to do this. I got to do this. Jesus just got to understand, maybe if he blessed me better, I'll serve him better. You know how we think. He's the meat of the meat of our lives. He's not the meat. The meat of our life is our day-to-day life. It is what we eat every week. We're full of. Our bellies is full of our regular life. And what I like and what's convenient is the sandwich on the bread. And so we're making this sandwich, and the reality is, God is basically the mayonnaise on the hot side, the tomatoes, for some people, the onions, but he is not the most important part of the sandwich of our life. If you feel me, somebody type, that's real. For many, he's just not the meat. It's like, if it wasn't about fruit, being fruit inspectors, if it was beef, a lot of Christians would be like, where's the beef, right? Which is why most people during this season, they're going to be wrapped up. And that's why I'm going to give you something that I know is going to anchor you and allow you to run into 2021 in a way that's going to really shift and shift 2021 to swing into your favor. Most people during this season, they're wrapped up giving to each other. They're tied up. They're wrapped up giving gifts to each other. They're stressing. They're frustrating. They're frustrating themselves financially. You know, they're about to go broke. They're about to start, charging stuff up in December that they'll be paying for until next three Decembers from now. Because you're just gonna make the minimum payment. When somebody type that's real, somebody just say hashtag facts. No judgment. Just telling you. Just talking to you. Don't trip. So Christmas is really, therefore, not about what we've made it. It's not about giving gifts to each other. It's really not about charging and buying all these toys for your kids that by January 1st, they done broke half of them or threw most of them away. And you're still paying for them because you're making a minimum payment. Christmas is not about that. But for many of us, that's what it's about. We just want to get as much stuff, gather it, and put it under this dead tree instead of serving the God who hung on a tree for us. And it's really not about what it should be. But Christmas really is about giving to Jesus. Somebody say, that's right. Somebody type, that's right. It's about giving to Jesus. And I know you're like, what you talking about, Willis? How can Christmas be about giving to Jesus? Christmas needs to be about me relaxing. Christmas needs to be me about that great dinner, family, friends, gathering. All that's fine. I'm not tripping on that. I plan to do a lot of that. I don't know about the gathering part, still working that out, but we're going to do all the other relaxing and the gifts and, and that's cool. But here's the thing. Christmas, Christ, mas, M-A-S, Spanish, mas, more Christ, if you want to say it that way, but that's how it should look. Christmas, more Christ, right? But most of us, if we were honest, we celebrate not Christ mas, more Christ. We celebrate and have Christ less. In December, it's less about Christ and more about Satan. I mean Santa. So we are all in the Santa business. I almost said Satan again, but it is a trick of the devil. Because we're not celebrating this. This is maybe one nation under God, but we don't celebrate. It's one nation under that dollar that God's name is on. But that's another conversation. What are you planning? Let me give you what I need to give you so I can get out your way. Because it's Christmas. I know you want to go shopping and buy those toys your kids are going to break. All right. So what are you planning to give Jesus for his birthday? What are you? Are you trying to figure out what your kids want, what your husband wants, what your wife wants, what your friend wants, what you're going to buy to coworkers, what you're going to give your teacher, if I'm a student, all that. But what are you planning to give Jesus for his birthday? You're like, I don't think I thought about giving God something. And most of us don't think about that because when we think about God, we think about God as having everything. That he's a God who lacks nothing. That he's a God who's all sufficient. And when we take inventory, it's hard for most of us to figure out what can we give God, because what do you give a God who has everything? I got an idea. Just a thought. Just a random thought. How about you give a God who has everything you? Put a bow on you. Put a ribbon and a bow and even a card. Dear Jesus, I give you me. I give you me while I'm half crazy. I give you me while I'm depressed. I give you me while I almost quit 5 times on my faith this year, but I'm going to wrap all of me up and all of my doubt and my fear that you weren't going to move in time and that I wasn't going to make it to see 2021. I'm putting it all in a box along with me. And God, here I am. How about you just give Jesus more of you? And I promise you, as weird as that sounds, that's what God wants. He doesn't want the empty lies like New Year's resolutions. God, I'm never going to mess up again. going to be perfect. You'll see, you'll never be disappointed. He's already disappointed. He's like, oh, she lying again. she can't keep that one up. It's impossible. You like, 70 pounds overweight, and you're like, I'm losing 40 by February 10th. He's like, okay. How about you just give God your crooked, crazy, raggedy, dysfunctional, broken, hurt, depressed, questionable faith portions where you believe him for salvation, but I don't know if you're really going to give me this house, this dream, this business, this husband, this wife. How about you bring that part of you and give it to God? Or, since we're just thinking about things you could give God, how about you give him the ungodly stuff that you don't want nobody to know you do? Did I say that? I'm sorry, I'm not judging you, and nobody knows who you are. No one can even see you. But how about you look at the stuff that you would be like mortified if people found out you do, and take that and say, I'm going to put that in a basket, and God, I'm giving you my ungodly ways. If you decide to do that, wrap that in a spiritual box and give that dirt to Jesus, not only would Jesus fix it for you and give it back to you looking different, he'll give you give him your gossiping tongue. What you think about so and so? That's always a setup for, I'm about to talk about so and so, and I need you to be on board with this. That's what that is. When someone says, "What you think about so and so?" Just always interpret that as they're about to say something, but they need to make sure you're okay with it, that you're on board. If you go, "They're awesome," they'll be like, "Yeah, I thought so too." Somebody type #facts. #facts. So whatever it is that you're hiding from everyone, that you would be like, Lord, man, God is saying, I want you to give me that. Matter of fact, in the Bible, he says it to us. In Isaiah 61, he says, listen, I want you to give me the ashes. I'll give you beauty. He says, I will trade with you the oil of joy for your mourning, for your sadness, for your depression, for your for your hurt. He says, I will give you the garment of praise for the spirit of your heaviness. So when you give something to God, because you can't be God giving, the second you give it to God, God takes it and says, I got to give you something back. You will never give God something and it stays at God's feet. You break your alabaster box at his feet. You give God God is going to turn around and he's going to give you double for your trouble. He's going to get, you can't outgive the giver. He is the reason, he is the giver. So if you make Christmas about Christ, Jesus wants you to know, if you make Christmas about him, if he says, hey, make Christmas about me this year, and you can bring me your hell and I'll give you heaven. Somebody type, I receive right there. God is saying, if you make Christmas, you put me first, make Christmas about me, you can give me your hell, all the hell you're dealing with. And God says, I'll give you my heaven in return. I will literally give it to you. Somebody type, God, take my hell. Somebody type, God, take all my hell. Take my hell away. Like the Calgon commercial, right? Somebody type, Jesus is the reason for the season. If I get that to your spirit, my assignment's been satisfied for the day. I'm going to stop right there. And I just want you, if you have received this word, and you're not saved, or if your relationship with God has, because he has really not been the meat of your life. He has really been, he's one of them condiments that you don't even pick. When you go to like Subways and they got some stuff, you're like, I don't even want that on my sandwich. You left Jesus pretty much at the altar when you said, I'm saved. God is like, listen, even if it's a journey or a process for you making me the meat of your life, that Jesus said, that my meat is to do my master's will. In other words, God was the meat of Jesus's sandwich. And if you're like, not so much yet, that's okay. Because baby steps become adult steps, become mature steps. And God is like, it's one step at a time. If you need to be saved or rededicate your life, it starts with a choice. It starts with the perception that I need to be better with God. God really is not first. And if I look in the mirror and I can say he's not first, it's time for me to say, Lord, I'm going to give me to you. I'm going to take my behavior and I'm just giving it to you. It doesn't mean I gave it to you, so now I'm perfect. It's really not like if you took all the money you have in the bank out, gave it to somebody in the street and walked away and you never knew who they were, that you no longer can ever get that money from them because you gave it away. No, when you say, God, here's my issues, here's the stuff I don't want anybody to see, it doesn't mean you still are going to be perfect. It means I'm starting the journey. I'm starting the process to allow you finally, God, to be first in my life. That's what Jesus is about. Salvation is progressive. It's about working out my salvation with fear and trembling. If you need to be saved, accept Jesus Christ. All you have to do is say, Lord, I want to be saved. I confess that I've fallen short of your glory. And I thank you for dying for my sins because I believe you rose on the third day. That's enough. And if we can just continue to do that, and if you've just done that, and if you said, Lord, I do accept Jesus Christ, or I rededicate my life because, Lord, you just showed me how far away you are from being first in my life, and you rededicate your life right now, I want you to just type hashtag I'm in. Just type I'm in. That just means I'm in. I'm in the right fellowship, the right standing now. Not I'm perfect, not I'm straight, not I'm never gonna stumble. Just I'm in the right state to understand where God needs to be. If you got saved or rededicate your life, just type I'm in. And to God be the glory.